The wind came up hard under the Roosevelt underpass in Chicago. It carried the smell of old oil and wet concrete. James Jimmy Carter pulled his thin jacket tighter and kept playing. His fingers were stiff, but they still knew every string on that guitar. A half-empty coffee cup sat near his shoe, shaking each time a truck passed above. The sound of the highway never stopped here. It rolled like a constant angry river overhead. Jimmy's breath came out in small clouds in the January cold. His stomach had stopped hurting from hunger hours ago. That kind of hunger just turns into something quiet after a while. A man in a gray hoodie walked past without looking down. A woman hurried by with her head turned away. Jimmy kept playing anyway. Not because he expected much, because stopping felt worse than being ignored. He used to play on stages, real ones with lights and microphones. Now the bridge was his ceiling. The city was his audience, whether it cared or not. His guitar had one cracked string he never replaced. He liked the sound it made. It felt honest to him now. A bus rolled by and splashed dirty water near his shoes. Jimmy didn't flinch. He just kept the rhythm steady. That was his habit now. Keep going no matter what moved around him. He glanced at his phone. 10% battery again. Same as yesterday. Maybe worse tomorrow. One message sat unread at the top. It was from someone he used to know. He didn't open it. He never opened those right away anymore.
A memory came back without permission. A hospital hallway with bright white lights. A doctor speaking too calmly. Numbers that changed everything in one sentence. That was the day his life split in two. Before the bill, after the bill. It started with chest pain at work, a warehouse shift on the south side. He thought it was nothing serious. He was wrong about that. The ambulance ride cost more than his rent. The surgery cost more than his savings. The recovery cost him his job. "You'll be okay," the nurse had said. Jimmy remembered nodding like that meant something. It didn't mean what he thought it meant. Then the rent fell behind. Then the eviction notice came. Then the apartment got quiet in a way that felt final. His wife tried to hold things together at first. "Just focus on getting better," she told him. But bills don't wait for healing. She left 6 months later, took their daughter with her, left a note on the kitchen counter. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry." He still saw that note sometimes when he closed his eyes. Jimmy shifted on the cold sidewalk. His back ached in the same place it always did now. A small dog barked somewhere behind him under the bridge. A homeless man named Ray sat nearby in a sleeping bag. Ray always talked too much when he was awake. "Man, you still playing that thing?" Ray said. Jimmy nodded. "Still got fingers," he said. Ray laughed a dry laugh. "That's more than most got down here." Silence came back between them, heavy but familiar.
Jimmy started playing again, a soft blues tune he used to play for his daughter. The melody felt older now, like it belonged to someone else's life. "You ever think about quitting?" Ray asked. Jimmy didn't stop playing. "I already quit everything else," he said. Ray looked down at the ground. "Yeah," he said. "Same." A church van pulled up across the street. Doors opened with a hiss of warm air. Jimmy didn't move right away. He knew that van. Salvation meals. Soup and bread. Sometimes a jacket if you were lucky. He stood slowly and grabbed his guitar. Every movement took effort now. Not dramatic effort, just constant, tired effort. Inside the van, a woman handed him a bowl of soup. "Still playing out there?" she asked. "Every day," Jimmy said. She smiled like she wanted to say more, but she didn't. "Keep warm," she said instead. He stepped back out into the cold. The soup steamed in his hands. It disappeared faster than it should have. Ray was still outside, watching traffic like it owed him money. "They ever call you back?" Ray asked. Jimmy knew what he meant. The old job applications. The hope phase. "No," Jimmy said. Ray nodded like that answer made sense. It always did down here. The wind picked up again. It cut through Jimmy's coat like it wasn't there. He sat back down anyway. His fingers went back to the guitar. Muscle memory took over. That was the only kind of memory that didn't hurt. A memory flashed again. His daughter laughing in the kitchen.
Small hands tapping rhythm on a table. "You're gonna be famous," she used to say. Jimmy smiled a little without meaning to. "Yeah," he whispered. "Still working on it." A man dropped $1 into the cup, didn't stop walking, didn't look down. Jimmy nodded anyway, like it mattered, because sometimes it did. Hours passed without keeping track. Chicago's sky turned darker. Streetlights buzzed alive one by one. Ray got up and walked away. "Stay warm, man," he said. "You too," Jimmy answered. But Ray was already gone. Jimmy was alone again under the bridge. The city felt louder at night, like it remembered him less. His phone buzzed once. He hesitated before looking. The message finally opened itself by accident. It was from his daughter's school number. "Call us back when you can," it said. His throat tightened. Not from cold this time. He stared at the screen too long. Then the battery hit 5%. He tried to call back. The call failed before it even rang. "No service," the phone said. He laughed once, quiet and bitter. Of course it did. A siren passed far away. The sound bounced off buildings like pain. Jimmy leaned back against the concrete wall. The guitar rested on his chest. For a moment, everything went still. Even the hunger felt far away. Then footsteps came closer, slow and careful. A young man in a hoodie stopped near him. He looked nervous, standing there. "You are the guitar guy, right?" the man asked. Jimmy shrugged. "That depends who's asking."
The man smiled a little. "I seen you here a lot." Jimmy nodded once. "That's kind of the point." The man hesitated, then sat down on the curb nearby. "You ever record anything?" he asked. Jimmy looked at him. "Used to," he said. The man pulled out his phone. "I run a small channel," he said. "Music stuff, underground artists." Jimmy almost laughed. "Wrong kind of underground," he said. But the man didn't laugh back. "I'm serious," he said. Jimmy stared at him for a long second. The wind filled the silence between them. "I don't have a place," Jimmy said finally. "I don't have anything clean to record in." The man nodded slowly. "Then we start here," he said. Jimmy shook his head. "Nobody wants this," he said. The man held up his phone. "People want real," he said. "They're tired of fake." That word hit different. Real. Jimmy looked down at his guitar, then at the bridge above them, then at the cold street. Something in him shifted just slightly. Not hope yet. Something smaller. Curiosity. The man stood up. "I'll come back tomorrow," he said, "if you're here." Jimmy didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I'm always here." The man nodded, then walked off into the dark. Jimmy sat there a long time after that. The guitar stayed in his lap. His fingers didn't move. For the first time in a long time, he didn't play. He just listened to the city instead. And somewhere deep in that noise, something felt like it was changing. Not enough to name yet, but enough to notice.
The cold didn't feel exactly the same after that, like it had a different reason to exist. Jimmy looked down at his phone again. 4% battery. One unread message still waiting. He didn't open it yet, but he didn't ignore it either, and that was the first time that mattered. The wind moved harder under the bridge that night, but Jimmy stayed where he was. Something was coming. He could feel it now. Not hope, not yet, but something close enough to follow. The night didn't get warmer. It never did under that bridge, but Jimmy stayed there anyway, like leaving would mean losing something he couldn't name yet. The phone died sometime after midnight. The screen went black in his hand. No warning left, no final buzz, just gone. He sat in that silence for a long time. No music, no messages, no numbers, just wind and traffic and his own breath. Ray came back before sunrise. Same sleeping bag, same slow walk. "You still alive?" Ray asked. Jimmy nodded once. "Barely counts," he said. Ray laughed softly. "That's the only kind of alive we got down here." They didn't talk much after that. Talking cost energy neither of them had. Morning came gray and heavy over Chicago. The sky looked tired, like it hadn't slept either. Jimmy picked up his guitar. His fingers moved slower now. Cold always made them stiff in a different way in the morning. He played anyway, because stopping still felt worse. Around 9, the young man came back. Same hoodie, same careful steps.
He wasn't alone this time. A second guy followed him with a small camera bag. "You're here," the young man said. Jimmy gave a small shrug. "I told you, I'm always here." The second guy looked around the bridge, didn't say anything, just nodded like he understood something already. The first guy held up his phone again. "We don't need anything fancy," he said. "Just your sound." Jimmy let out a short breath. "This place is my sound," he said. The second guy opened the camera bag. Small setup, nothing expensive, but real enough to matter. Jimmy stared at it. "You sure about this?" he asked. The first guy nodded. "Yeah," he said, "I'm sure." Ray sat nearby watching. He didn't interrupt. That was rare for him. Jimmy adjusted his grip on the guitar, like it weighed more now than yesterday. "What do you want me to play?" Jimmy asked. The young man smiled. "Whatever you'd play if nobody was watching," he said. Jimmy almost laughed, because that was the joke. Somebody always ended up watching. He thought about it. Not long, just enough. Then he started playing. The sound came out rough at first. Cold fingers, old strings, concrete echo. But it was honest. The camera guy stepped closer, adjusted focus, stayed quiet. Ray leaned back against the wall, closed his eyes like he'd heard this before in another life. Jimmy's foot tapped slow on the wet ground. The rhythm filled the space under the bridge. Something shifted in the air. Not the world, not yet, just the moment.
A few people walked by on the sidewalk above. Some stopped, some didn't. That part never changed. A woman above leaned over the railing, looked down, stayed for a minute. Then she pulled out her phone and started recording too. Jimmy noticed, didn't stop playing. His chest tightened slightly. Not fear, not pride. Something uncomfortable in between. He kept going. The young man whispered to the camera guy. "Don't stop it," he said. The camera kept rolling. Jimmy's song changed without him planning it, moved into something slower, deeper. A song he hadn't played in years. One he wrote before everything broke, before hospital bills, before eviction notices, before silence became normal. His voice came in quietly, rough, untrained now, but still there. "Don't let me disappear," he sang. Ray opened his eyes at that line, looked away fast, like it hit something private. A bus rolled above, shaking dust down from the bridge. Jimmy didn't stop. The young man stepped back a little, like he knew something was happening that didn't need interference. A small crowd started forming. Not big, not dramatic, just enough. Phones came out. Some people stayed, some walked off. Jimmy kept playing. His hands started to warm up. Not from weather, from movement. Something old waking up inside him. Then it happened. A mistake. His cracked strings snapped mid-note. Sharp sound. Sudden silence. Everything stopped. Jimmy froze, looked down at the guitar like it betrayed him. The crowd shifted.
Uncomfortable pause. Ray muttered, "Damn." The young man looked worried. "You good?" he asked. Jimmy didn't answer right away. He just stared at the broken string. That string had been there for months, maybe longer. He used it like a crutch without thinking. Now it was gone. He swallowed. "I can fix it later," he said quietly. But later didn't matter right now. The crowd started thinning. People lost interest fast. Phones went down, feet moved again. One moment gone like it never happened. Jimmy sat there holding the guitar, quiet again. Ray shook his head slowly. "That's how it goes," he said. The young man stepped closer. "It's okay," he said quickly. "We got it. We got enough." But Jimmy didn't feel enough. He felt exposed, like something fragile just got taken out of his hands. He set the guitar down carefully, then stood up. "I'm done for today," he said. The young man blinked. "Wait, we can fix..." Jimmy shook his head. "No," he said. Simple, final. He turned away. Ray called after him. "You coming back?" Jimmy didn't answer. He just walked deeper under the bridge. Not fast, not angry, just steady, like a door closing slowly behind him. The young man stood there holding his phone, confused. The camera guy looked at him. "We got something," he said quietly, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt unfinished. Jimmy sat back down far from them, where the sound of traffic swallowed everything. He leaned against the cold wall again.
His hands were shaking slightly now, from cold, from something else too. He looked at them like they didn't belong to him. A memory came back harder this time. The hospital bill envelope on his kitchen table. Opened, closed, opened again. The moment he realized math could erase a life. He pressed his forehead against his knees, just for a second. Nobody came near him. Above, life kept moving. Cars, people, phones, noise. Down here, time felt stuck. Ray eventually came over, sat a few feet away. They left, Ray said. I know, Jimmy answered. Ray scratched his beard. You mad? Jimmy shook his head slowly. No, he said. Just tired. Ray nodded like that made sense. It always ends like that at first, he said, when people come down here. Jimmy looked at him. What, they leave? Ray shrugged. Or we do. Silence stretched again. The broken string lay in Jimmy's mind like a warning. Something simple breaking something bigger. He thought about the song he didn't finish. Then something strange happened. He didn't want to stop. Not because of the crowd, not because of the camera, because he hadn't finished telling the truth of it. That feeling sat in his chest quietly. He didn't act on it. Not yet. But it stayed, like a spark refusing to die in cold wind. Above them, the city kept going like nothing happened. But Jimmy sat with something new now. Not success, not hope. A refusal to end unfinished. And that was enough to change the shape of tomorrow.
Jimmy didn't move from that spot for a long time. The broken string stayed in his mind louder than traffic. It felt like something small had exposed something huge. Ray eventually left without saying much. Just a nod. Just footsteps fading. That was how people survived down here. The young man with the camera came back alone later that afternoon. No camera this time, just his phone. He sat down a few feet away. You left before we could finish, he said. Jimmy didn't look at him right away. I finished what I had, Jimmy said. The young man shook his head. No, he said, you didn't. That line hung in the air. Not rude, not kind, just true. Jimmy finally looked over. What's your name? He asked. Evan, the young man said. Evan Brooks. Jimmy nodded slowly. Why you still here, Evan? Evan hesitated. Because I think people deserve second listens, he said. Jimmy gave a short laugh. Second listens don't pay rent. Evan didn't argue. He just sat there with that. The wind pushed harder under the bridge again, like it always did when things got serious. Evan spoke again. I posted the clip, he said. Jimmy frowned. What clip? The song, Evan said. The part before the string broke. Jimmy looked away fast. I didn't say you could do that. Evan nodded. I know, he said. I just did it. Silence hit again. Jimmy stood up halfway like he might leave, then stopped. Delete it, he said. Evan didn't move. It already started spreading, he said quietly.
That made Jimmy pause. Spreading where? Evan showed him the phone. A video was there. Jimmy under the bridge. Cold air. Broken sound. Real voice. The caption said, Man singing like nobody's listening, but you should. Jimmy stared at it, longer than he meant to. That's not me, he said. Evan shook his head. Yes, it is, he said. Jimmy sat back down slowly, like his body didn't agree with standing anymore. I didn't finish it, Jimmy said. Evan leaned forward. People don't care about finished, he said. They care about real. Jimmy rubbed his face with cold hands. This is real, he said. This is broke. Evan looked him straight in the eye. So are they, he said. That landed different. Jimmy didn't answer right away. Evan stood up. I'm coming back tomorrow, he said, and I'm bringing someone. Who? Jimmy asked. A friend, Evan said. He knows music stuff. Jimmy shook his head. No more cameras, he said. Evan nodded. No camera, he said. Then he walked off. Jimmy sat there long after he left, phone in his hand again. He didn't want to look at it, but he did anyway. The video had thousands of views already, then tens of thousands. Comments kept coming, fast, constant. Who is this guy? This is raw. This made me cry. Jimmy stared at the screen like it wasn't real. Ray came back later that night, saw Jimmy holding the phone. What happened? Ray asked. Jimmy showed him. Ray squinted at it. Damn, he said softly. That means something?
Jimmy asked. Ray shrugged. In this city? Maybe. Jimmy didn't sleep much that night. The bridge felt louder than usual. Even the cold felt different, like it was waiting. The next morning came fast. Too fast. Evan came back early, and he wasn't alone.
A woman followed him this time, older, calm face, warm coat. "This is Marcia," Evan said. Marcia looked at Jimmy carefully, like she wasn't judging, just reading. "I manage small artists," she said. Jimmy laughed once. "I'm not an artist," he said. Marcia nodded slowly. "That's not what the internet thinks," she said. Jimmy looked down at his guitar, still missing that string. "I don't even have proper equipment," he said. Marcia shrugged. "You don't need it," she said. Evan stepped in. "The video hit 100,000 overnight," he said. Jimmy froze slightly. "That's not real," he said. Marcia smiled a little. "It is now," she said. Jimmy stood up. "I'm not performing for numbers," he said. Evan held up a hand. "No one's asking that," he said. Marcia nodded. "We're asking for one thing," she said. "What?" Jimmy asked. "Finish the song," she said. Jimmy shook his head. "That song's not finished," he said. Marcia looked around the bridge. "Then let's finish it here," she said. Jimmy stared at them both. Something inside him pulled in two directions. One wanted to disappear again. The other wanted to prove something wasn't dead yet. He sat down slowly. "I don't have a studio," he said. Marcia nodded.
"Then we bring the studio to you," she said. That was the moment things changed shape. Not all at once, but enough to notice. A small setup came out. Better mic, simple recorder, portable gear. Evan tuned the space like it mattered. Marcia stayed quiet, watching everything. Jimmy held the guitar again. The missing string still bothered him, but less than before. "Why are you doing this?" Jimmy asked quietly. Marcia answered without thinking. "Because I've heard a lot of music," she said. "And yours feels like a warning." "A warning about what?" Jimmy asked. "About people we stop seeing," she said. That hit deeper than he expected. Evan nodded. "Play it again," he said. Jimmy hesitated, then started. Same song, same place, different air. This time he didn't stop when the broken string mattered. He worked around it, adapted, adjusted, kept going. The sound came fuller somehow, not perfect, but stronger. People started gathering again. Same bridge, different energy. Some recognized him from the video, some didn't. Phones came out again, but quieter this time. Less curiosity, more attention. A man in a construction jacket stopped, listened, didn't move. A woman sat on the curb without speaking. Jimmy noticed but didn't break focus. Evan leaned toward Marcia. "This is bigger than I thought," he whispered. Marcia nodded. "It usually is," she said. Jimmy's voice came stronger this time, less cracked, more steady. He wasn't trying to impress anymore.
He was trying to finish something that lived in him. "I used to think I disappeared," he sang. His voice carried farther now, but I was just waiting to be heard. Silence after that line felt heavy, not empty, full. When the song ended, nobody spoke right away. Even the cars above felt quieter for a second. Then someone clapped. Just one person. Then another. Then it spread slowly. Jimmy didn't bow, didn't smile much, just lowered the guitar, like he didn't fully trust it yet. Marcia stepped closer. "That's it," she said softly. Jimmy looked at her. "That's what?" "You're beginning," she said. Evan laughed a little. "Told you," he said. Jimmy shook his head. "I'm still homeless," he said. Marcia didn't blink. "Then we fix that next," she said. That sentence didn't feel real to him, not yet, but it didn't feel impossible either. Over the next days, things moved fast, too fast for Jimmy's life to recognize itself. A shelter worker from Southside Outreach showed up, then a housing contact, then paperwork. Jimmy hated paperwork. It reminded him of bills, but Evan stayed with him through it. "You don't skip this part," Evan said. "This is the part that changes everything." Jimmy signed things slowly, like each signature cost something. Ray watched it all one afternoon. "You leaving us?" Ray asked. Jimmy didn't answer right away. "I don't know where I'm going," he said. Ray nodded. "That's still leaving," he said. Jimmy didn't argue.
They sat in silence for a while.
"You ever think you'd get out?" Ray asked. Jimmy looked at the bridge. "I stopped thinking that," he said. Ray laughed softly. "Yeah," he said. "Same." A week later, Jimmy had a small room. Not fancy, not big, but a door that locked, and a bed that didn't move with traffic. He stood in it for a long time, just listening to silence that wasn't dangerous. He didn't know what to do with it. The first night, he didn't sleep much, kept waking up like something was missing. Then he realized what it was. Noise. Weeks passed. The video kept growing. Millions now. People started donating. A GoFundMe Evan set up quietly filled fast. Marcia called it momentum. Jimmy called it confusing. But it worked. A small studio was rented eventually. Simple place on the west side. Jimmy walked into it like it wasn't his. "You ready?" Evan asked. Jimmy shook his head. "No," he said, "but I'm here." That became the pattern. Not ready, but here. He recorded again. Finished versions of unfinished songs. New ones too. Songs about cold concrete mornings. About voices that almost got lost. About names that didn't disappear. One night, Marcia played him a track. Mixed clean. Professional. "That's you," she said. Jimmy listened. Didn't speak for a long time. "That sounds like somebody else," he said. Marcia shook her head. "No," she said. "That's who you were underneath." Jimmy didn't know what to say to that. He just nodded slowly. Months later, he played a small show. Not a stadium. Not fame. A community space, South Side Chicago. People showed up anyway. Some knew him, some didn't. Ray wasn't there, but Jimmy thought about him anyway. Before going on stage, Evan stood next to him. "You good?" Evan asked. Jimmy nodded. "For now," he said. Then he walked out. The lights weren't bright, but they were enough. He held the same guitar, new string finally replaced. He looked out at faces, real ones, listening ones. For a second, he remembered the bridge. Then he didn't. He played, and this time, nothing broke. After the last note, silence came again, but different, not empty, full. People stood, clapped. Jimmy didn't smile big, just closed his eyes for a second, like he was making sure it was real. Later that night, he stood in his small room again. Same space, same quiet. He looked in the mirror, long time, not looking for fame, just recognition, and he found it, not in what he became, but in what didn't disappear. Evan texted him later. "You changed a lot of people," it said. Jimmy stared at it, then typed back. "Same," he wrote. He set the phone down, sat on the bed, listened to silence that felt earned, not taken. Marcia called him that night. "Tour offer came in," she said. Jimmy closed his eyes. "Small steps," he said. Marcia laughed softly. "That's still forward," she said. After the call, he stayed quiet, not thinking about success, thinking about survival, and how close those two had once been the same thing. Months later, he went back under the bridge once. Just once. Ray wasn't there. Nothing looked different. Same wind, same noise. Jimmy stood there holding his guitar. He didn't play. He just listened. Then he whispered something to the air. "Still here," he said. And for the first time, it didn't feel like pain. It felt like distance. He turned and walked away, not running, not escaping, just done with that version of himself. Back in his life now, things didn't feel like magic. They felt like work. Early mornings, late nights, practice, calls, decisions, but they also felt like his, real ones. One day he got a letter from a shelter. Old staff member wrote it. "You were always still you," it said. Jimmy folded it carefully, put it in a drawer. He didn't need to reread it often. He already knew. Years later, people would ask him about it. The bridge, the moment, the rise. He never called it a rise. He just said, "I stopped disappearing." And when they asked how, he never gave a dramatic answer. He said, "I kept playing when it didn't make sense." That was all. The rest, he said, was just time catching up. But he never forgot the cold under that bridge, because it taught him something simple, that being seen doesn't start with success. It starts with not letting yourself disappear in silence. And sometimes all it takes is one person who decides to listen, not fix,
not judge, just listen. He kept that truth longer than anything else, and he carried it like a song that never ended, a quiet one, but steady.
The story is not about what he became. It is about what refused to die in him when everything else was gone. What matters most is not how far someone falls, it is what they still choose to hold on to in the coldest moment. And maybe that is the part every person understands in their own way, even when they don't say it out loud, even when no one is watching. What are you still holding on to when everything feels gone?